Hey, this is Ruth. Thanks for tuning into this week's video, which is all about romance. Does romance make for better relationships? Does romance enhance long-term relationships? Is there a place for romance in modern relationships? So I want to dig into this from my own research and my own personal views of being in a almost 16-year relationship now with my husband. I know I don't seem old enough to be in a 16-year relationship, just flattering myself there. But yeah, I've been in a relationship for 16 years, which amongst my peers is kind of unusual. Not that many people who are in their early 30s have stuck it out for 16 years, and we have. And romance is a really interesting element of relationships. So one thing that I always think about is when you watch rom-coms, romantic films, period dramas, whatever it is, when the couple get together and the end of the film rolls and the end credits roll, what do we think is going to happen after this point? We don't get to see any of that stuff because, let's face it, it's probably not going to be as appealing as that first little nugget of them meeting, and we don't get to see what happens afterwards. So romantic comedies aren't really about relationships, they're about people getting together in that first instance. Romance has dominated our landscape and how we view relationships from, I think, the late 1700s, the very late 1700s, and all of our literature and all of our culture and all of our art since then has tended to showcase and promote this idea that romantic relationships are the go-to, the goal, the pinnacle of life. And I want to say on this video that to me is not the way to make a relationship work. Romance is kind of phony, and it's not how you're going to have a really good, strong relationship and find love with someone. Romance might be kind of a fun fairy tale in the early days of lust, but it's not going to sustain a long-term relationship, in my opinion, and in many other people's opinions who are experts in this field. So touching on what romance means, so romance is this idea that there is the one, we're going out into the world and we're going to find this one that's going to complete us, and once we find this one, we're going to have all of our needs met. They're going to accept everything about us for who we are, the wonderful people we are. All of our quirks and all of our weirdness will be accepted by this person. They will be our lover. We'll have insanely amazing sex with them. They'll be our best friend. They'll be our care provider. We'll build a home with them. We'll do our spreadsheets with them. We'll do the supermarket shop with them. We'll go home and have incredible lovemaking, and all of this will go on for many, many years. And if at any point this is challenged or people fuck up and make mistakes, and we don't accept everything about someone else and we want to call them out on some stuff, or they can't fulfill all our needs, then we feel like we're not living up to this idea of romance and this romantic ideal that we're sold. So my personal experience in a relationship is that, yeah, there's been some nice romantic things that have romantic gestures, nice little gifts and that sort of thing have been offered to me, and they can be really nice, but they are not the things that hold the relationship together or make me happy or make a lot of other people happy. And for a long time when I was a lot younger, because I got into this relationship a week before my 18th birthday, so those romantic ideals set me up for a fall, and I've spent a long time in this relationship, many, many years, feeling like a complete fraud because I don't love everything about my husband. I love him and I have accepted him for who he is, but that doesn't mean that I accept that I am happy with everything that he does and the way he behaves, and I call him out on it, and it's okay for me to do that. But for a long time I felt like I just had to accept him, and if I didn't accept things, then I wasn't a good partner. Also, if he couldn't fulfill all my needs, then I was also a bad wife. If I ever had a crush on somebody else, or I found somebody else attractive, that wasn't allowed, and that meant the romance was going out of our relationship. So I spent a lot of time feeling like a pretty bad fraud and feeling guilty for these natural feelings that I was having, that, you know, we're not going to be able to be with somebody else for many, many years and still like put all of this stress on the relationship of having to have a happy home, be best friends, have a great sex life, and fulfill all of these different things from this one person over years and years and years of time, and expect that we're never going to want them to change, and that we're never also going to feel like we are pulled out of the relationships at points. Like, we're going to meet other people that are really exciting and that we may find attractive and have little crushes on, and that's okay. You know, like, we're both going to do that. And the more open that you can be in your relationship to talk about these things and accept that no one's like the baddie, no one's a bad person for sometimes saying, you can't meet all of my needs and I need like other people, like friends, you need to go to like have hobbies and hang out with different sorts of people, and the occasional crush here and there doesn't mean that you don't love each other anymore. So it's having a far more realistic expectation of the fact that there isn't one person out there for you. You're not going to meet the one. Like, Rob isn't the one. You know, we met each other and we chose to make each other the one that we would work on a relationship with. And I think that once you accept that there isn't one person that's going to complete you, and no one person is going to complete you, you need lots and lots of people to be involved in your life, and you need to feel like you love yourself, which is a whole other topic of how complicated that can be. But, you know, you need to have some sort of grounding in yourself that you're okay, and that to know that not to put all of this pressure on this one relationship, which is so stifling. And I think that's what romantic films, romantic books, that's the story that they're selling into us, is this idea that, you know, you see this person and you feel attracted to them, and then all of a sudden, like, your life is completely changed and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows, and they're going to never ever hurt you or, you know, not accept something about you. It's just, and then when we do get into real relationships, and like, you only need to look at the statistics around like 1 in 2 couples now get divorced. I don't know how many couples off the top of my head have affairs, but, you know, on top of those sort of stats, then it's like how many people are doing things and not saying them, or wanting to do them but not going through with them. So relationships are really complicated, and in my view, romance and this romantic ideal of relationships only makes things more complicated and puts more pressure on people to just live up to unrealistic expectations about what relationships are going to be like. You are going to argue. You are going to find things really challenging about the other person. You're not there to accept everything about the other person in what I think is a really good relationship. You're there to kind of call out things in the other person and support them to grow, and, you know, be honest and be vulnerable and be upfront with one another about things and challenge each other, because otherwise there's no growth in the relationship. So yeah, romance. I know this is a touchy subject with people. I still love a good rom-com. So I know it's not true though. I know it's a fairy tale, and that I don't like put that expectation on my own relationship. But I know that romance is dear to many people's hearts, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do nice things for each other, but I think that relationships should be rooted in realism, and they should be rooted in hard work, and recognizing that, you know, we are imperfect people living in imperfect relationships, giving things our best shot, and not to be so hard on people. Like, we're so hard on people that make mistakes in relationships. So for example, like if you've got friends and somebody, I don't know, like does something, you know, has an affair or isn't pulling their weight in the relationship or something, like we can be so judgmental about people, and everyone loves to jump on that bandwagon of, oh, he's horrible and he doesn't deserve her. And you know, we don't know what goes on in other people's relationships. We are holding people up to ideals that, like, if you're going to be in a 10-year plus relationship, you are going to make some big mistakes. Both of you are. And it's about taking responsibility for that and just accepting that relationships are imperfect, but working together to be as open and vulnerable and honest about things as possible. And that doesn't mean that that's going to make sure that every relationship never ends and, you know, no marriages ever end. But I do think that if we had that sort of attitude of acceptance and forgiveness of ourselves and for others, and realism within relationships, there would probably be a lot less pressure on people, there'd probably be a lot less divorce, and hopefully there'd be a lot more sort of messy happiness in relationships as well. So if you are in any sort of relationship, or if you're single and romance is playing a part in your dating, or kind of if you find it's holding you back or it's really dear to you and you don't agree with me, I'd love to know your thoughts on this topic. And yeah, I will be back next week with another video. If you're enjoying the videos that I'm posting, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe and press the little bell so you know when I'm going to post another video. And I will see you next week. Thanks guys, bye.